Good morning, Hexicans, Poseidons, crypto junkies, and crypto pirates alike. Thank you guys for your wait. We had some OpSec things that we needed to worry about. So we are not going to have camera for Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney today, but we are going to do a follow-up. She promised me a follow-up in September. So we will have actual working camera at that point in time. OpSec is very important, especially for people who are freedom-minded and constantly attacked. So we appreciate you guys, your understanding. We appreciate your patience. And if you don't like it, that's too bad. You guys can shut this off right now. So we've got Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney, very freedom-minded, also believes in the rights that are endowed to humans through their human and civil rights. And so without much further ado, I'd love to bring her up. How are you doing, Congresswoman?
Well, I also want to extend my apologies to your audience for the snafu, but it seems that weird things seems to happen wherever I'm around. So welcome to my world.
You know, when I was researching bringing you on, when I wanted to know a little bit more about what you believed and the things that you've endeavored for, I found a clip of on InfoWars, and for some reason, for some reason, all of a sudden Skype went down right as you came on. I said, this is par for the course.
Yes, that's right. I mean, and we know now that the National Security Agency, the NSA, is listening and recording. And if you happen to say a keyword, then the live bodies fly in. So and when you're talking about freedom or individual rights, or you're even talking about patriotism, you're talking about the Constitution, then strange things happen because those words are verboten these days.
Yeah, you might as well be throwing 4-letter words around. The socials don't like it.
That's right. That's right. And, so like I had gathered around me some of my props that I was going to talk about. One is a previous book that I did, How the U.S. Creates S-hole countries, because
you can say shithole here.
But you see, I was raised a nice little Southern girl, and so my mother would kill me if she heard me using those.
Then I will say it for you.
Yes, and so, but our president said it, and I thought I would, try and set the record straight as it relates to what U.S. foreign policy does to other countries around the world. And it's something that we, the people of the United States, need to understand. We need to know that. And then the most recent book that I have is When China Sneezes. And it's all about the whole coronavirus thing, because it just so happens that I was in China during the outbreak. I didn't, can you believe it? So this book, When China Sneezes, From the Coronavirus Lockdown to the Global Political Economic Crisis, is my effort to explain what I think is on the horizon, and not just me, because I got people from China, from Italy, because remember, Italy had the lockdown. I had people who were affected by the lockdowns in other countries. I had them to write chapters about what was going on in their worlds. And then I've had Whitney Webb, who has specialized in DARPA, the defense agency, I can't remember.
Defense agency research.
Program agency. And so what they do is, all of the robotics and the human to skull technology, the crimson mist, anything having to do with the bloodstream, anything having to do with the brain, they are in the process or have already figured it out and are deploying it in technologies of control. So Whitney Webb wrote that chapter on the research that DARPA, the Pentagon, has been doing on coronavirus. So this whole scenario that we're now living is not anything that was unforeseen. When you develop the technology, you deploy the technology, you use the technology. And so that's what has happened. We're seeing what the US taxpayer is paid for. We're seeing it now in action in the field.
Yes, I'm not one to believe in coincidences, and typically things are planned in advance. And when new technologies
I think we have a freeze.
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. Great.
That is the strangest, man. That's the second time it's done this to us since we started talking. So
That's right. That's right.
So these emergent technologies, they will be used. They will be
That's right.
utilized. And so I've heard this in the past, and I believe there's something to it, that either this technology is going to free us or it's going to enslave us.
That's right. Well, so far, it hasn't served to free us. And that's the problem. I used to teach, and hopefully I'll be going back there to teach again in the political science department, just introduction to political science. And I focus a lot of my time on Paulo Freire, who introduced the mechanisms of oppression and the tools for liberation, because these technologies of death, as some have called them, are readily deployed, and they have been deployed. This is the whole point of how the U.S. creates S-hole countries, is that the U.S. has deployed these technologies around the world in other countries. Whoever would have thought that they would then, those same people who were paid with US taxpayer dollars to do these horrible things in other countries around the world, would then turn that technology on the people of the United States. That is what we are witnessing, and that is what we are living through. I just put, over the weekend, I just put Fahrenheit 451 on my Twitter and my Facebook accounts, when I still have them, but I have them now. I put Fahrenheit 451, the scene of Montag running through the streets, and actually the commentary is that he's a criminal and he's been captured, but in actuality, Montag is in the camp with the other free-thinking people. And so it's all a lie. We have entered the stage of Big Brother lies, of the deep state lies. And so if we believe what we've been fed on CNN, Fox, and all of the rest of them, then we are miseducated. That's the state of the people of the US today, that we are greatly, grossly miseducated. So now comes the opportunity for you to teach me, because my son sent me a message not too long ago, maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. Mom, I'm ready to invest in cryptos. And so he asked me what I thought about that. And I said, well, I'm not so sure. And, you know, sometimes people are stuck in their ways, or they're stuck in a way of thinking. And that's why I like to surround myself with young people, younger people, so that I can hear and see what younger people are thinking and what's on their mind. And then, of course, the intergenerational contact allows for the exchange of ideas with a historical perspective. And so I am not in my comfort zone talking about cryptocurrency. I do know a little bit about blockchain technology. I do know a little bit about alternative crypto, digital currencies. I do know that that is on the horizon by deep state actors like the Federal Reserve that want to deny us the opportunity to use cash. They want to deny us the opportunity to use coins. And my position is that we should have gotten rid of actually, 1913 December should never have happened.
Should never have happened. Yep.
Right. It should never. But here we are, and I understand the enthusiasm and the idealism of young people who view cryptocurrencies as a way to get away from the central control. The only problem is that I see a lot of bad actors. I see the same Larry Summers type actors in cryptocurrency that I see on in the Federal Reserve and Wall Street. And so how do we get ourselves away from those guys and get away from their, I guess you could say, super control, the control of the whales in cryptocurrencies? How do we get to a truly decentralized form of exchange and value that really is representative of access for all of the people? That's my question for you, if you can get through what I was trying to say.
Yeah, there's a couple points in there, and we'll circle back and we'll touch on every single one of them. But I'm glad you're giving me the stage and the opportunity instead of just being a long form interview, because I definitely have some value to provide you at that point in time. And I've got a lot of help from the chat too. So this is great. So our community is very freedom minded, and we recognize that our magic internet money is better than the federal made up magic internet money.
Yes.
So because it is a true peer-to-peer currency that I can transact with and not have to pay for all the war games that go on with the inflation that's created by the Fed and then put on a balance sheet. So we have digital scarcity that is being validated through nodes and miners, and we'll get to that point here in a minute, because you said you're pretty familiar with blockchain technology. So I think you understand the miner aspect. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Great. So we can make sure that my spreadsheet matches your spreadsheet, my balance matches your balance, and we're all in consensus. So what's great about Bitcoin is, thank you, Bitcoin, for being the first. Unfortunately, Bitcoin is trash technology when it comes to utilization. So it tried to become a peer-to-peer currency. It failed miserably. It's too slow. It's too expensive. The database is an expensive, or the blockchain is an expensive database to transact on.
Yes.
So we've had new technologies emerge since then that can do more than just send and mine. Those are the only two things that Bitcoin can do. You can send it. You can't even you can't even pull like you can with a credit card transactions, and you can mine it. So you can send and mine it, and that's all it does. It's like the rock version of gold being a currency. So what's nice about it, though, is that it did become a store of value. So we proved that through digital scarcity, that we can create value, knowing that as long as my database matches yours and there's censorship resistance, we can agree that my balance is exactly what my balance is and your balance is what your balance is. So Richard Hart, fortunately, came along and decided, you know what, let's take what works with Bitcoin, we'll put it on a better, more decentralized network that isn't all mined in China, and we'll go ahead and put it on a smart contract that doesn't need the consensus of mining. So with Hex, that's the Hex.com is the crypto that this particular community is very, very involved with. And there's a new substrate, it's equivalent to the Ethereum, called Pulse, that is coming out soon. And it's going to even be better because it's not going to use the mining algorithms. It's going to use node validators. So it's going to be a proof of stake. and it's going to not burn as much energy. So we won't be contingent upon the cheap energy in China to transact and be able to mine this coin. We're going to be able to have the same censorship resistance, which our community is big on censorship resistance because we believe your financial transactions are a human right. We believe that it is a form of free speech. And so we want to be able, you're very familiar, I believe, from my looking into your background of the social credit score that China operates with. Well, if they decide that you don't want to be able to transact, you're homeless and can't buy groceries, and you're dependent on those who will support you in the street.
Well,
so, go ahead.
No, I don't want to stop you.
No, by all means, I've got plenty to say. So
okay, so discussion about the social credit score, all pervasive in all aspects of life, but we have the credit score.
Yes.
We have a credit score that if you want to conduct financial transactions, it's all pervasive in your life, including being able to rent a home or whatever. So I don't think that there's certain institutions that exist over there that are not alien over here. And so
True.
I don't want to, because I'm pretty wary of saying, okay, those guys are communists and so therefore they're bad, because I know that the drums of war are also beating and they want us to hate those folk. So I don't want to go too far over there without also recognizing that we do have some structures that are similar. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, actually we do. In fact, I'll just touch on this for just a moment. But when my wife found out that I was interviewing you today, she said, so you're going to go the conservative constitutional route with her, right? And I said, I'm not trying to convince anyone of politics, because the problem with politics is that they just want us to hate the other side.
Exactly.
When you divide, it's easier to conquer. It's the Machiavellian way, the Prince.
That's right.
If any of you guys have had the opportunity, read The Prince by Machiavelli. So when you divide and conquer, it's a lot easier when they're not united fighting against you. So I don't like to pick the whole left or right. I am not Republican or Democrat myself, and I'm not afraid to put that out there. But I am very pro-human rights and pro-constitution because it allows for human rights as well as civil rights. So circling back around, when I was talking about Hex, the reason why Hex.com crypto is so much better than Bitcoin is because one thing that Richard Hart realized when he was designing this was that if you're going to get rid of the banks and the middlemen, aka Wall Street, banks, Fed, you have to replace their products, because currency is not the only product that banks offer. So he decided, let's go ahead and create something that we can transact peer-to-peer with, not give up any keys to our crypto, not have to give it to someone and hope we get a yield in return for someone else controlling our coins. So he created a staking mechanism. We call it proof of weight within our community. So the longer you wait, it's the time value of money. I come from the insurance industry. I come from life insurance, and even a lot of people in the legacy finance space don't understand the time value of money and and how that is so powerful. And so, and people in crypto definitely don't understand it because they don't even understand traditional markets. It's kind of funny how that works. So what Richard did is he created this proof of weight where you stake it similar to a CD on the blockchain in an attempt to replace the second most popular product at banks, which is the CD, the certificate of deposit, or time deposit, as our friends in Europe that are watching or call it. So the longer I stake this particular crypto, which it has all the capabilities of Bitcoin and more, then the longer, the bigger my rewards will be for it. So every year that I stake, I get a 20% bonus. And all he did is replicate what works in the real world. So if you go to a traditional bank and you look at their CD products, for about every year longer you're willing to lock up your money, 20% more interest they're willing to give you in return. So it's very, very, very similar to that. And he came up with literally a Nobel Prize possible winning of mathematics for code that created this simulated compounding of interest. So what they found is that when someone would restake their principal and their interest after 1 year, if they did that for 10 years, they would out earn the person that was staking for a full 10 years. So they came up with this really neat share system that simulates compound interest. But what happens is every time someone receives an ROI at the end of their stake, the share price goes up, and it costs you hex to buy shares to get that staking system. So I don't want to get too deep in the weeds because it's really simple. It's really simple. The longer you stake, the higher your rewards are. But they created the code on the back end that allows people to stake for a long period of time and out earn the new people coming in because they'll get less shares as time goes on. It's really revolutionary. Well, he got sick of what Ethereum was doing. If you've heard anything about Ethereum lately, the fees are outrageous. The blockchain is full. A lot of people trying to do stuff. It's still run with miners. The block speed is the blocks are too slow. They're not fast enough. So transactions are costing a lot. And then on top of that, the Ethereum developers just increased what is called the S load. So any business logic that any of these smart contracts built on top of the blockchain need to utilize, it's a read from disk essentially. Any business logic just made it unaffordable to transact on the network. So Richard Hart decided to take what already works with his devs, and they've improved the code, the underlying code for Ethereum, and they've actually got those improvements submitted into the Ethereum code. And now they're forking it and creating a proof of stake so they don't need the miners. So we will have node validators that can do all the same thing, keep the censorship resistant, still secure the network, and at the same time be able to utilize this S-load function on this blockchain to create more products that can replace the bank going forward.
So now, please pardon me because I was moving to a different location, a more comfortable location since I was sweating outside.
Can't say that I blame you there.
But so now you say if someone stakes for 1 year successively, that and they do that for 10 years, a total of 10 successive 1 year stakes, the return is higher than a 10-year stake?
So it was originally at the original design outset. So when they came across this, it was actually someone in the community contributed and said, I'm going to be able to out earn your 10-year stakes if I just recompound my principal and interest on a 1 year term over and over and over again for 10 years.
I see.
That's why they created this share system. So every time your stake ends, you actually lose those shares. Those shares come out of the pool, and to buy back the same amount of shares, you either have to stake it longer or you have to use more hex to do so. So it creates this simulated compounding interest. So now those who are staked for 10 to 15 years are going to far out exceed the earnings of people who are recompounding their principal and interest. So it literally, if you have, they've got 2 audits for code to make sure that the code works the way it's supposed to, but they went one step further than that. They set the new precedent for projects within the crypto community, that they paid for 2 legit audits on the code to make sure the code works the way it's supposed to be, instead of beta testing, losing a bunch of people's money. They wanted to make sure this was going to do what it said it did. But they also spent money on a 3rd audit to have it checked by an economics auditing firm. That's the right term I should probably use. But the economics auditing firm found that the code, or the mathematics and the formulas that they use behind it will work every time the way intended, and there's no way to game the system by restaking shorter. So
okay. So I don't know why I didn't just go to hex.com because I'm looking at it now, and let me see, wait a minute. I was looking. What happened?
And pulsechain.com too is the new substrate that it's going to be running on.
Post chain?
Pulse chain. PULSE chain.com. Yep.
Pulse chain.
Kind of plays to the Richard Hart theme. So, because
now here's the thing. So now here's the thing. I was sent some videos to look at. So I watched the videos. Of course, I was nowhere closer to understanding what was going on than it's right here. It's like a certificate of deposit. It's like first blockchain CD. So now I absolutely get it. But
so imagine Bitcoin. So imagine you bought Bitcoin in 2010, right at the beginning. And if you'd held on to your Bitcoin, great. You've seen at its all-time high, you've seen greater than 6.5 million X return on your investment. That's great. But wouldn't it be even better if Bitcoin could pay you more Bitcoin just for holding it? Well, that's what Hex does.
Okay. So, yes. So at the end of my stake, I end up with stake plus X.
Yes. So it pays you in like kind. So it doesn't pay you in USD. We're trying to disassociate ourselves from the government fiat system. And in order to do that, we got to replace the products that the bank offers, including the actual currency itself. So it pays you in like kind. So at the end of your stake, you have the principal that you originally staked plus the interest in Hex that you have earned over that time period.
Well, now, what are the forces that would make Hex, that would make that algorithm fail?
The only thing that could do is if the blockchain on which it was operating failed. So the code, one thing that is wrong with Bitcoin is that it is spaghetti code. It's unmodulated. There's no right to database on it. So it's literally just held together by code that they keep having to fix because it has inflation bugs. The problem every time that they do an upgrade. So the problem with an inflation bug is it is the one thing that can devastate a cryptocurrency. An inflation bug is where someone can print as many of whatever that currency is, and then that digital scarcity that gives it value just goes out the window. So Bitcoin's had 2 inflation bugs since its beginning. The first one was early enough on in its chain that they rolled back the transaction, and someone had minted billions of free Bitcoin. Well, they rolled back the chains right before the transaction and then patched up the bug. Well, then they did an upgrade, and I can't remember, maybe the community can remind me. There was a particular community or upgrade that caused a new inflation bug. And fortunately for Bitcoin, its contentious competitor, Bitcoin Cash developer, actually found this inflation bug and let the dev team know about it. So they got it fixed.
Okay.
So that's the problem with Bitcoin. It's unmodulated spaghetti code. It's very, very difficult to, that's why you don't see upgrades happening very often on it. Well, the nice thing about Hex is that it is completely modulated in a locked code. There is no admin keys. There's no way to go in. There's no way to make changes. We know it works because of the 2 audits as far as the code is concerned, and we know that the economics on it work, the formulas work the way that they're supposed to at the share system, and we have had 100% uptime in the almost 2 years that this has been live, and we've never had a failure. So the only way that this could be shut down is if the blockchain itself were to be shut down, which the whole point of the blockchain is a decentralized network throughout the world, so that it's censorship resistant, so it can't be shut down. So that's not likely to happen either.
So now, because of, so I tried a couple of transactions, with very small stakes in Bitcoin, and quite frankly, that was a long time ago, and maybe they have improved, or maybe they don't intend
It's a little better.
It was,
the user interface was miserable the first couple of years.
That's right. It was very unpleasant.
Yes.
And took a long time too.
Yep.
So
and they still do. Bitcoin transactions still take a long time.
They still take a long time.
Yes. They have not done anything to increase the block speed.
Why do you think that's the case? Is this some deliberate, I don't want to say sabotage, but an effort to make it more exclusive?
I would like to think that it is not a malicious intent that caused this, but just rather a first iteration of technology. It's like I liken Bitcoin to being VHS and Hex and Ethereum being the streaming services that are now Netflix and Hulu. So it's just a progression of technology, I think. And at one point in time, so there's a problem called the Byzantine generals problem to how do you, and you're familiar with this then.
Yes.
So the timing is everything with these blockchains, and getting the consensus from all the nodes at the same, or the nodes, which are run by the miners. And so I just think that they had that 10 minutes built in on purpose because they needed to make sure all the miners out there agreed on the transaction before, so that you couldn't have a double spend and ruin that digital scarcity. You couldn't double send the same transaction to multiple people. So
yes,
I would like to think that it wasn't designed that way with the intent of being malicious, but rather just a first iteration of technology and has been improved upon since.
Okay. So now, because of that experience, perhaps I should have continued with the Bitcoin, but it was a disincentive, and so I didn't. So
Yes.
now I became very familiar with Bitcoin Cash, and then I started taking a course over at University of Cyprus. They have that free course. So I took that course until I got too busy with my own teaching, so that I couldn't.
Hey, life happens.
Yeah, life happened. But I took that course, and that's how I was familiar with that. But the Byzantine generals dilemma. But so now, but the thing is that with Bitcoin Cash, you can do transactions very easily. And so would you recommend, what kind of portfolio would you recommend then, so that you can have the store value, the exchange of goods, and at the same time, a lot of people want anonymity that you don't get with any of them. Now, do you get anonymity with X?
So we do have a protocol that works on top of the ETH blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain, called hexnado.cash. And so it is a user interface that does allow for you to put it into a tumbler, so to speak, so that it mixes your transactions with others. The only problem with that is that the subset is still small. So it's really easy to figure out, especially if there's only 10 users and 9 of them are the same person, and you're the 10th one that comes in. Well, that one person knows who you are just by your wallet address. So
I see.
There is a 3-card money game that is constantly being built. So yes, anonymity, because we believe that's the one thing that Hex and Ethereum and soon to be Pulse does not do yet that we think should be anonymous. We believe that has to do with the sovereignty of your own money and the freedom to be able to spend on transactions outside of the purview of what your government thinks is okay for you to spend that money on. I'm very libertarian minded in that mindset. And a lot of us in the community are, and I know Richard himself believes that it's a basic human right, your anonymity in transactions.
So I don't know how well Dash and Monero are doing now. Back when I was a little bit more attentive, they were doing very well and touted the anonymity, that Tumblr thing that you mentioned. So now, how are they doing? And then how would you mix your crypto portfolio so that you can do transactions, you can have the store value, and you can, I don't know that you can transact anonymously with Dash or Monero, though.
You can, well, so far you can, but The difference between the two is that Dash has a 3-card money game that is so complex that I think that is actually the better and an anonymous solution going forward. And that's only because if Monero's ring signatures, their cryptographic ring signatures, are ever broken, then all transactions become visible. Whereas with the Dash, it's so complex, their 3-card money game, that I just want to state this for the record: the Dash community is very, very pro Hexakin, and many Hexakins are very pro Dash. So I actually like the idea of Dash being used as a currency and Hex never being a currency. The problem with being used as a currency, so we would love to stay a store of value and then utilize Dash as a currency, because the velocity of money is such that someone needs to sell what they just received for their goods and services, and we don't want that constant sell pressure on Hex.
Right.
So I would rather that sell pressure be on a coin like Dash or Monero, and I would love to see there be bridges, especially from Hex NATO itself, and not anonymous transactions, and then be able to cross chain. And atomic swaps between chains are getting better. I don't think we're there yet. Someone in the chat will probably tell me, no, there's this project out there that you're not aware of. Let me tell you all about it. And if you've got that, go ahead and put that in the chat there, guys. But I don't think we're quite at that point yet. But it would be wonderful if there was some kind of bridge between the two, that we could use Hex for savings and to gain our wealth, and use Dash for transactions.
Okay. So now I just talked to some lumber people, because we have some family land down in South Georgia. And I was told that in order to plant and harvest trees, you're looking at a 30-year proposal. So I can plant trees and I can probably get, I don't know, 50, 60, 70,000 or more, depending on how they're planted. And so now, if I do a CD for, say, the same amount of time of 30 years, what am I looking back at as a return?
So first off, there is a limitation because of the blockchain. There is a limitation to how long you can stake it. The longest that we're able to stake it, because of the limitations of the Ethereum blockchain, is 5,555 days, which is about 15.2 years. So it's just over 15 years. So you would need to do 2 15-year stakes. But what we are looking at is approximately, and so there's a neat, and without getting too into the weeds on this particular point, those who end their stakes early are penalized, just like you would be with the CD in the bank. And those penalties are paid to those who keep their word and keep their stakes. So not including those, some of the models that we've looked at, we've got some really smart Germans. They have a channel called Crypto Sparbuch, which means crypto savings account. And they crunched a bunch of numbers and looked at some models. And on average, they're looking at about a 20x return on your principal over 15 years. So if you could do that over 30 years, over 2 15-year stakes, I think that actually compounds to greater than 40x return. And that doesn't have anything to do with the price appreciation in USD. That's just being paid in more Hex.
Okay, so now I've decided to do 2 15-year stakes of Hex. And then Klaus Schwab comes along and gives us a digital pandemic. What happens to my stake?
It gives you a digital what now? I'm sorry, we just cut out for a second.
Oh, okay. A digital pandemic. So
gotcha.
Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum guru, claims that the viral pandemic is nothing that we are currently living through, is nothing compared to the digital pandemic that the world is going to, it will be unleashed upon the world. So now we have these we started out by talking about these actors of malevolent intent. And I do believe that World Economic Forum is a malevolent force. And so they're promising that we will have.
They're telling you what they're going to do.
They're telling us. That's exactly right. So now what happens with our hex?
So the beautiful thing about it is there's going to be this is already a database backed up on multiple nodes. So my fear is, just off the top, first off, I think the next world war is going to be fought with ones and zeros. I don't think it'll be with planes and bombs. That's just my own personal opinion. I've listened to a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me that believe that could hurt us way more than, an invasion of some sort using a traditional army. And I agree with that. So the first thing that comes to my mind is temporarily transactions are going to be suspended. If we can't connect to the network and when all the nodes can't agree with each other, we'll have literally a freeze of funds where they're at that moment in time. The good news is, as long as at least one of those nodes still has that database and it's uncorrupted, we can resync all those nodes going forward and be able to continue transacting as if it never happened.
So now here's the additional question then. I'm aware of Faraday cages and, those bags and things that you can get for your equipment. And Lord knows I've paid a lot of money for them. But is there anything else that can save that one computer? And then it would have to be able to connect to the internet, right? Or is it housed on the computer itself?
Well, every one of those nodes, so there's historic archival nodes that exist on the blockchain. And so what those are is we call them full nodes. And what that means is it's got every transaction that's ever taken place on the blockchain is backed up. So as long as we've got one uncorrupted database, we can resync all the nodes again and resume transactions.
So now how is that something that Hex maintains, or is that something that each of the anyone who wants to maintain that as a part of Hex?
Currently, Hex only operates on the Ethereum chain. That's about to change when Richard Hart and his team fork Ethereum into Pulse. We're going to have Hex on Ethereum. We'll have Hex on Pulse, and then we'll have the actual Pulse chain itself. So currently, as it exists right now at this moment, those who run a full Ethereum node, which can be and most likely are the miners, they have these backups on hand.
Okay. And then going forward after the fork, then you'll have the Pulse nodes. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And I know certain individuals who will be running archival nodes for Pulse. I do know that. Okay. I can't speak for the Ethereum network and their foundation, but I know people that are gearing up to create these backups specifically for Pulse.
Because, here's the thing. The evil of the current global deep state is unimaginable. We cannot take anything for granted that we have today or say, oh, well, they wouldn't do that, because they have demonstrated that they're willing to do almost anything. And when they are having lectures at the Pentagon about, brain to brain technology and being able to communicate with you without invitation directly to your brain and then have that affect your behavior. We've entered really, truly a brave new world. And I saw
that you tweeted movie night, Brave New World the other day. That's great, right. By the way.
That's right. That's right. Because, our young people, sometimes they don't realize these, what we appreciate as classics, or what I appreciate as a classic, because since I'm your elder. But these actual works of literature are so valuable because they did give us a glimpse into how our future could unfold if we're not careful. And the authors, from George Orwell to Aldous Huxley, they were warning us that we could become slaves, true slaves, true drones. And, you know, you look at the progress of DARPA with the robotics, and now just a few days ago, the robot was turning flips. So there's nothing that and so you put some code, say the same code that's in our electronic voting machines that count our votes. You put the code in this robot, and you're going to tell me that artificial intelligence, it might be intelligent, but it's also artificial. So that is going to determine whether I live or not, whether the quality of my life, the quality of my healthcare. No, I'm sorry. That's just not the future for me. And I'm a Trekkie. I'm a Trekkie also.
Oh, so, nice.
Oh, yeah.
So we have that in common. So we're nerds together.
Yeah. And well, do you remember the episode? This was the original Star Trek, where they were having a war. You said future wars or current wars are going to be bits and bytes. And they were having a war. And so the computer said 10,000 people were killed. So 10,000 people were marched to the chambers to die. But there was no actual destruction. It was just the computers fighting each other out. But real consequences in real life. And the other thing that I see, are you familiar with, I don't remember which Star Trek it was, but it was the Borg. You remember the Borg? 7 of 9?
Assimilated to the Borg,
That's right. And so I see that, in fact, Klaus Schwab said, I ordered all of his books. I haven't gotten to them yet, but I've ordered them all. He said that he could foresee a time when we all had chips in us. And I think that was around 2006 that he said that. And if you look at what their objectives are, it really is that we will become drones, just like in Brave New World. They had the Epsilons and they had, and we know who the alphas and the alpha pluses will be because they already have shown themselves to us.
Well, they're telling you what's going to happen. They've said it. They've flat out have said it.
That's right. So now we have to believe them. We have to believe them and not say, oh, they wouldn't do that. There's so many people who say, oh, they wouldn't do that. And I have tried to sound the alarm, which is probably how you heard of me, because I've tried to sound the alarm. And, what I was doing was 20 years ago or so. And now,
gosh, it's been that long, hasn't it?
It has been that long. It's hard to believe. And I now am getting messages like on the Twitter or whatever from people saying, now I understood what I believed the media when they, vilified you, but now I understand what you were trying to say. But it's a little late. It's a little late. We got to get smarter.
The agenda's marched forward in the meantime.
That's right.
I want to highlight this comment because I think it speaks a lot to what we have to say. Are you a fan or aware of Buckminster Fuller? So he has a book. He created the geodesic dome. He created a book called The Grunch. And I agree with this statement that we have to provide alternatives to these profit systems that are not evil. And I believe that the blockchain can be that solution. And that's why I believe in Hex. That's why I believe in Pulse Chain that Richard's creating, because the guy has never said anything other or counterintuitive to freedom and sovereignty of money and getting rid of middlemen. And I think that's what we need to do is we need to take out the evil profit incentive. So thank you. Thank you, Crypto King Silver Sailor. Awesome, powerful interview. Thanks for the 5,555 yen. Be sure to visit Congresswoman McKinney's site. That is www.allthingscynthiamckinney.com, and follow her on Twitter at Cynthia McKinney. Also subscribe to the Discourse Syndicate channel and follow at The Real Kinetics. Hit that like button, guys. Definitely go check out the Congresswoman's Twitter page at Cynthia McKinney when they have her available, when she's not in Twitter jail.
That's right. And Facebook jail too.
And Facebook jail as well.
Well, this has been great. And
this has. I've got a whole list of questions that we didn't even get to, but we get a follow-up now. So
yes, we get the follow-up. That's right.
The first thing I want to leave you with here is nomics.com, NOMICS.com, is the only coin market cap aggregator out there that uses a true API that finds the actual information off of the blockchain and is not manipulated like the others to match what the centralized exchanges, the middlemen, the new crypto brokers, the new bankers of crypto, they want the information manipulated just like any other industry out there so that it works to their benefit. Yes. So coin market cap is the big one that everyone knows about, but that was bought by the largest exchange in the world. And so you can bet that they have an agenda to the information that they present on there. So if you want the truest, most fair numbers in crypto, nomics.com has the best APIs for that and has Hex where it should be, which is the number 3 crypto by market cap. So
wow. Yes, I see it.
We are being gatekept left and right, just like you in your books, Congresswoman. Yeah. So we understand it, and we are in a very similar boat, and we understand and feel your pain. So I wanted to leave you with that, and then I've got a few questions. When we won't get into them right away, but I'd like to give you some things to maybe be able to come back to us with. When we're able to meet again in September.
That actually sounds great. So you will send those questions to me?
Yeah, in fact, I will write them up and I will send them via Telegram. I really like Telegram because it's encrypted end to end. Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, the Russian government once told the guy that created Telegram that he had to uncrypt it, and he said, "Nope, sorry," and he moved out of Russia.
Yeah, I know the whole story. I've been
good.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
So, well, I really appreciate your time today. We will touch back again on some of these other questions because there's a lot of questions that we have as a community. And we have a feeling that from your prior experiences, you might maybe not know all the answers, but that you might have some insight that might be revolutionary for us.
Okay, well, I am a revolutionary. At least I like to think of myself as that in that way.
We love that. Well, thank you so much for your time. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and send us out.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. We'll see you soon.
Okay.